Hello guys, and welcome back for this part 2 of this final review for the Phenom 300E by FSReborn. So if you watched the part 1 video, if not, go check it out. I give my overall review in the first part, and I am showing everyone why I think it is rated at what it's rated. So if you don't know what it's rated at yet, please go to part 1, watch part 1 first, and then come back and watch this part. Okay, with that being said, we'll shoot to the intro quick and we'll get right to it. Here we go. Okay guys, so welcome back to, like I said, the flight deck of the Phenom 300. And before we get up front, and yes, I have it all powered up, I want to show you guys what it looks like with it powered up. But before we get up front and talk about the items up front, we have been talking a lot about, in the first video, we talked a lot about just the aesthetics and everything else on the outside that wasn't like the real airplane. Like I said, if you haven't seen that video, definitely go watch the part 1 of this. So before we go up front, the interior inspection starts at the back. So we're going to go at the back quick, and then we're going to come up front, and then we will talk about some of the systems, and we'll go from there. Okay. All right. All right, guys. So first thing, once you come onto the aircraft, and if you've watched my tutorial for the Phenom 300, it's the first video I put out late last week. You can go watch the whole interior inspection, and I talked about one or two of these items, but I'm going to talk about it again just because this is the final review. So let's go all the way to the back. So first things first, we have our emergency exit door. All right, this is one of our first checks. All right, there's a locking pin in the door. This is not simulated. At least we should be able to open it up, maybe see the arrangement, and it's not there. Okay, and then there's a pin to lock it from the inside. Okay, so there are 5 pins on this aircraft. Okay, with flags. All right, that should be installed after your flights are complete. One is here at the door. The next 3 are obviously the ones that are outside, the landing gear pins for the nose and the main wheels. And the 4th one is up front. We'll talk about the, the 4th one would be the window, and the 5th one is up front, and we'll talk about that when we get back up front. Okay? All right, so now let's continue to go to the back, and let's get into some of the safety equipment or emergency equipment on this aircraft. So welcome to the lavatory. I don't know how much people ever say that, but anyway. Welcome to the lavatory of the Phenom 300. Now, first and foremost, the modeling in here is absolutely beautiful. All right, as far as the zinc and everything, and the soap, and everything looks really good. Flowers and everything. This, and of course you could see this from outside. This is really, really nice. All right, so I gotta hand this to them. This is exactly pretty well. People can get the faucet to look different. So, but other than that, it's really good. Okay, but now let's get to the emergency equipment because that's what we're here for, right? Okay, so first and foremost, let me go through some of the other drawers and then we'll deal with that drawer last. Okay, so this is the water, right? For obviously your faucet. This would be garbage, and this would be any form of, let's say, hand towel or tissue for the toilet itself. All right, so it would be stored in there. Now, this compartment, it says life vest, but when I open it up, I don't see any life vests. Do you guys?
I said, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
No? Okay. So there's no life vests. All right. Also, something that's also in here is first aid kit. All right. Also, the water barrier. All right. And I saw on my airplane that we have a small defibrillator. All right. So obviously that, I don't think that's a standard thing, but definitely your first aid kit, your life vest, and the water barrier, mandatory requirements to have back here. So I wish they maybe had put the towels on one rack and put all the security stuff to the bottom. But anyway, like I said, just Just comparing it for you guys, right? Okay.
Hi guys, we're in the Phenom 100 and I was doing the review video and I just want to show you guys the rear compartment of the in the galley area. Okay, now this is the 100, however it's the same items. So there you have it. Got a life vest, you got a first aid kit. Looks like that is a the heart thing. What do you call it? EKG or no, what do you call those? Defibrillator. Sorry, small like a defibrillator. Don't worry, that doesn't come with the airplane, and that's your water barrier. So there is what should be in the back. All right, and there you have it
For you guys, right? Okay, next thing about the cabin, and these are small things, the armrest, right? So the armrest doesn't move, but the bottom compartment here moves, right? Does it matter? To me, not really. I'm not going to be back here playing with armrests, but yeah. All right, fire extinguisher at the rail on this aircraft and also in the flight deck. As you know, this is the king seat right here. All right, so on a private jet, they always tell you do not sit in the first forward facing seat on the right hand side is the king seat. All right, he or she holds the controls for the everything, air conditioning, music, what else we got there? Video, Wi-Fi. That's interesting. This is something I have not played around with. Reading lights, table lights, aisle lights, entry. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So I found out something new today, but I still have to tell you all something. Let's see something here. Lower lights. Where are the lower lights? Okay, no, that's not giving me what I was thinking. Okay. All right. So, reading lights, table lights, area lights, presets. Okay. So you got a whole bunch of custom presets here that can be done. So this is pretty cool because you could change the cabin lighting and all this type of stuff. Also, audio, um, all that stuff is done from here. All right. Okay. Let's go to home. All right. Let's close it up. All right. All right, cool. Now let's go to the front because speaking of lights, let's talk about some lights. Okay. All right, guys. So right here or here on the side of the door, there's a little black square. I'll actually show you guys that. There's a little
All
black.
right, got my flashlight. Now there is a courtesy light. Oh, right here. There's a courtesy light. There we go. Let there be light. All right. So you got your chips and everything. You got a bar, a little bit of a bar area. Like I said, the 100 doesn't have a number of these stuff, so this is pretty cool. Hey, baked muffins. Okay, so all right, so I got to get started. So I'm going to stop the recording and I got to get to work. All right.
There's a little black square here. That is for your courtesy light. Okay, that lights up the same light that's overhead. Where is it? This entry light, this door entry light. It lights this up, and it lights up the baggage door, and it also lights up. There's a light that's here. There's a red light that's here. All right. Unfortunately, that's not simulated as well. All right. It comes on for 5 minutes. All right. Once you press the light, it comes on for 5 minutes. Okay. So let's continue going forward. We got our fire extinguisher. We should have a PBE on the captain wall behind the captain seat. That is missing. And now we make ourselves comfortable in the flight deck of the Phenom 300. Okay, now let's go through some of the things that are not working for the pre-flight checks. So we start on the left side. There's another courtesy light up here on the flight deck as well. So if you were to turn the power off up front and then obviously it will get dark immediately. And then if you wanted some initial light, you could just hit your courtesy light and then you would actually have some light, not up here, but you will have it like right here, and some in the aisles, okay? They're not simulated on this aircraft. Also not simulated is the oxygen test function. All right, I think that's pretty big for me. That's not simulated. This oxygen, um, this is the open and close shutoff valve for the oxygen bottle. All right. When we pull or push, there's not a click. It's like a because you're actually opening and closing the valve itself that lets the air out. So when you open it, you hear the release of air. When you close it, it's less of a sound, but when you open it, it's like a whoosh, the air is just kind of shooting out of it. So that they just have a click, and I think that's I think if they could amend that, get that sound to go to be correct, I think that would be pretty good. Like I say, oxygen mask, big one for me, not working. Um, okay, let's go overhead. Emergency lights, which is over here on the right side. So when you come in, you do your test, you would put the switch to on, and you would check for the emergency lights in the cabin. There are no emergency lights in the cabin. It's not simulated. They're not. They don't even have where the lights would be. And then there would be an emergency. There would be exit on over the emergency exit itself, and also one I think here as well. And they would all be illuminated. Okay, it's actually 7 lights I believe that should be illuminated. We're supposed to check that and then move it back to the arm position. So obviously that's not working. All right. Okay. Let's talk about your trim. All right. Your trim has a 3-second cutout on the embraer. Once you hold the trim for any longer than 3 seconds, it's supposed to automatically cut out. However, when I operate the trim, so you hear the oral warning, but the trim isn't stopping. It's supposed to immediately stop, which tells me I then have to let the trim switch go, reset, and then do it again. That is how the system is, but it's not working. So that is happening for the pitch, roll, and yaw trim, all of them. None of them have the 3-second cutout. So that's a problem. That needs to be fixed. Okay. As far as the dome light as well, dome light has a little white button over here on the side. It's not simulated. It's not working. All right. Then you have your hydraulic pressure. All right, so hydraulic pressure is on your status page. This is not correctly simulated, and we'll see that. I will show you guys that once we start the engine. All right. Also, your automatic thrust reserve, your ATR. This isn't simulated properly either. I'll show you all how. I'll show you all why right now, actually. All right. So let's go to engine set. So 27 degrees. That's fine. We just want something. So 27. Enter. We hit set. This sending data accepted. This is not supposed to turn green now. It's supposed to stay white. It's supposed to accept it, but this is supposed to stay white. Okay? When that will go green is when your TLA, your thrust lever angle, goes above 60%. All right? So as you setting it to take off thrust and your TLA gets above 60%, it now knows, hey, you're requesting, looks like you're going to go take off. So what we're going to do is we're going to arm the system in the event that the engine fails, that we could up trim the engine. So this isn't working initially correctly. Okay? Next thing, let's talk about your PFD, all right, or your PFDs. Now, the information that is on the screen is presented by your ADC, obviously, your air data computer, and your AHRS, your attitude heading reference system. All right. Now, in the event your attitude or heading reference fails, you should get a automatic switch to the number 2, or from, if it's the other side, it would be to the number 1. Now, let's just say if I force the sensor, let's say ADC, so that gives you your airspeed, your altitude, and your vertical speed, right? Let's just say I go to ADC 2. This should say somewhere down here, all on ADC, all on 2. That's what it should say. Because now I'm not using the number 1 source anymore. I'm using the number 2 source. All right. And here's the next thing. If I turn my barrel, as far as I'm aware, this should not be able to move. Why? Because this would be controlled from over here. All right. So when this moves to 13, this should move to 13 as well. All right. So we're going to put that back to ADC 1. So same thing for the AHRS. AHRS 2, this should say all on AHRS 2, and it's not saying that. Okay, so that means the system isn't detect. So that part of the system is not working. All right. Okay, so we're going to go back out. And for the most part, though, I feel like a lot of the information is pretty decent. What is also missing? Now, I don't know if it's some Phenom 300Es or all, but it has a runway alert warning system. All right. So it has a runway alert warning system. It lets you know if you're stable. It lets you know if stable approach. It lets you know if you're unstable. And it appears right here. Also, it shows you what taxiway you're on. It tells you how much feet until that taxiway ends. It is a very cool feature. Now, I figure that's going to be time consuming because to get every airport information to make sure that comes up here to let the airplane know what taxiway it's on, it's probably going to be a tough feat. But hey, I mean, hey, I've you've seen a lot of people do a lot of things. So maybe they can do that as well. All right. Now, I think for the most part, that is everything I want to talk about without no, there's one more thing I want to talk about with the engines being off. Okay, now let me show you guys something. The ignition switches, all right? So the ignition switches are usually in the auto position. Now, let me show you all something. If you look right here to your ITTs, right next to them, there's nothing, right? Now, when you start the engine, you would see ignition A or B, right? So you should see it on both sides. Now, if I move the switch to on, on, you get ignition A and B. That is correct. That is absolutely correct. I'll do the other side just to show you guys. Ignition A and B. Now, when you go to auto, you should see nothing. Why? Because the ignitions are not in use at this moment. All right? Now, when we start the engine, they'll automatically come online. Now, let's go and turn it off. This is when you would turn it off. When you would turn it off would be when you're doing if you had a hot start or hung start and you want to clear the engine, this is where you would turn the ignition off. Now, the term ignition off should be here as well. It's also not simulated. So now I don't know if my switch is in the auto position or if it's in the off position. So we should see ignition off here. All right, that's not happening. All right. So we put them back to auto.
Now, all right, we're up front. This is the Phenom 100. And I want to show you guys the sensor thing that I talked about in the review video. So here's the sensors, right? So we click sensors, right down on ADC 2, right? And the screen's clear. There's no CAS message except for GPU connected. Now, if I go to ADC 1, you see what shows up there? Both on ADC 1. All right, let's go back. Clears. All right, let's go to AHRS. Remember we talked about that? All right, we lose our attitude and our heading. All right, so we're on AHRS 2, which is fine because I'm on the co-pilot side. Now if I go to 1, boom, both on AHRS 1. All right, so they haven't yet started to simulate this. And this is something that I think should be simulated as well.
Now, all these tests work pretty decent. The annunciator, the smoke, and the fire. They all work good. The one that I have a problem with is the stall test, and we'll do that right now. But let's go ahead and start the engine up, okay? So I'm going to close the door. Chalk, scare pin. Yeah, I know I left everything in. We're not going anywhere. All right, so we're going to go on and off. All right, so here we go. So we're going to start the engine. So now there's a couple things I want to show you guys on startup. One, battery 2 is what is used to start engine number 2, even though we have the GPU. So the GPU is powering number 2, but number 2 is starting the engine. Number one slightly isolates itself because this is just in place to keep the avionics on. So I realized in the airplane yesterday that this actually drops to about 25 volts, somewhere in that area, because it's kind of like saying, hey, we're not even connected to the GPU because we don't want to get short out. So we're just going to allow the GPU to handle that battery number two, and we're just going to hang out over here. We can hang by ourselves. And then once the start is complete, we'll accept the GPU power again, right? So that's how it kind of works. So I want you guys to watch the start. The next thing I want you guys to watch is the hydraulic pressure. When we start engine number 2 first, the hydraulic pressure should only rise to 29, I think 2850 or 2950. Anyway, I'll put the information in the I'll put the information in the video once I find the right number, but I think it's 28. Actually, you know what? I'm going to find that for you right now. I have my notes here. 2850. 2850. This hydraulic pressure should rise to when you start engine 2. When you start engine 1, it should go to 3000. Now I want y'all to watch this start. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and start. So let's go ignition to run. Oh shoot. I went straight to start. Anyway, so be it. All right. So this battery looks like it's doing the right thing. It's kind of it's lower than I thought, but anyway, we'll accept that for now. That's fine. Oops. Okay, so look at the pressure. Look at the pressure, guys. This is supposed to be 2850. It's 2560. All right. All right, fine. Let's start the next engine. Ignition. All right, so we got battery voltage here. This should be dropping. This should not be 27.5. This should be dropping. But anyway. All right, so we got both engines on. All right, now look at this. Did you see the hydraulic pressure rise any further? Okay, so that's a problem. This is not simulated correctly. Okay? All right, now let's run the stall test. All right, stall. Now, we would pull the yoke back, hold the stall button for 4 seconds. And now it should push, just like that, but it's not. I just did that. I just let my yoke go. So that's not simulated. That needs to be simulated because that's a test that you have to do every time. Okay? Now, as far as dang, I think I damaged the VCS. I forgot to turn the air conditioner off before I started the engine. Oh man, and here it's gonna be hot. Anyway, all right, let's get back to the review. Okay guys, so we talked about the PFD, we talked about some stuff on the MFD that doesn't seem to be right. Now let's get to the good part. The good part with this airplane is the system in which you can test everything. This is just how it is on the real airplane, and this works really, really, really good. All right. All right, I don't want to sit here and go through them all, but I just want to tell you, especially what I really do love and enjoy is the performance part that tells you your trim, your takeoff distance required. Yeah, so all of that is really, 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 really good. Okay. All right, let me disconnect the GPU. All right, we go next. All right, the data has already been set. I'll just set it again. Oh no, it's already set. All right, next. All right. Anyway, let me just put something in for now. Let's say we go into Fort Lauderdale. All right, automatically does your LFE. We talk in one of my videos, one of the first videos I did, well, I think it's like the second or the third part, where we talk about the fly, the line really well, Sir Thomas. This is the L, sorry, line, so LFE. So the LFE automatically sets the Lauderdale, and this actually is not correct. Lauderdale landing elevation is 65 feet. And I like the fact that I could change that. So it's 65 feet for Lauderdale. All right, so I'm not going to bore you with this stuff, but this is all great stuff right here. This is all really, really good. All right, you take off. I mean, if once you put your weather in, you can get your takeoff performance, and that's what I love about this aircraft. All right, that's all good. That's all good. All right, so there are your speeds for takeoff. There's your trim. So we would set that here, 10.2. Oops, wrong way. There we go. You know if your climb gradient is going to meet your required, which is really good. There's your actual takeoff weight. All right, and we hit accept speeds. Takeoff pressure altitude is not there. Okay, that's fine though. All right. All right, so... all right, so that's good. Next, speed bugs are on for takeoff. For landing, we don't want them yet because we haven't done the landing data. So now, this is all good. This is all good. So in the air, we'll hit accept. And in the air, well, you could do your landing data here. Destination. I would prefer to do this in the air because it'll kind of know what your weight is for landing. So you want to do this landing data in the air. Flap 3. Yeah, so this is what it is. Well, landing weight is 0, so be careful, right? That's not correct. So be very careful with stuff like that. All right. So yeah, so this is the good. Now what I do wish this had was CPDLC. It doesn't have CPDLC, and I know our airplane does have that as well. And of course, in these sections, there's a lot of things that you can do as well. So I appreciate that as well. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, now a lot of this stuff is the regular flight sim itself because you know they've been the one to improve on the G3000 title. So a lot of this, I don't know, obviously FSReborn had to make some amendments, especially in the performance area. But as far as the out of the box, I think this probably came already like this from Flight Simulator title. Someone could tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure. Okay. All right. So yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and connect the ground power. I'm gonna raise the flaps for after landing. Trims are set. We're gonna go AC off. Oops. And we're gonna go ahead and shut the engines off. All right. All right. And that is all I got for you guys. So you can be the judge on what do you think the Phenom 300 by FSReborn is rated. Like I said, if you haven't watched part 1, go to part 1. That will be where you can see what I rated the airplane at. And this kind of says a couple of things. One, Is it worth $40? To me, no, not in its current state. Um, if anyone, if you guys have not seen, I commented on this earlier on my YouTube timeline. Go and watch the review on the new citation coming out by, I can't remember what that company name, but Blue Games and A330 driver. They put it out this morning. All right, but Blue Games own, what I like is his own was he just did the exterior and a little bit of the interior. He did no flying. A330 driver had the developers to be on the stream with him or to be on the video with him. So if you want a more in-depth of what that airplane is all about, I suggest you go and watch his stream. But Blue Games showed and demonstrate some of the same things that I talked about, especially in the first video on the exterior. And as pilots, we don't fly the exterior; we fly inside. But if you're going to charge a certain amount of money, like a certain company that's been around a long time that like to charge a lot of money for their products, and they're not high end, they only look good. And if you've been in the flight sim community, you know who I'm talking about. This, in my opinion, is above that, but by how much? You know, every airplane that I have wanted to fly, that I have actually previously flown, has been a bit of a letdown. Okay. Now, can FS Reborn improve this product and make this 10 out of 10? Probably not. Okay. But if you can get to 8.5, 9, I think if you could go and correct, especially a lot of the things, some of the aesthetics on the outside, and get some of these systems working the way that they're supposed to, I think they would be in good shape with this aircraft. And let me tell you something, I will be their biggest fanboy. Look, I've already bought the airplane. So, I'm going to keep it. I don't want my money back, but I want this product to be improved. A lot of people that don't know anything about the aircraft, they're flying it around and they love it. It's good. However, someone like myself who flies this airplane, I just require a bit more. I'm not asking for, I don't believe I'm asking for um, too much. I think I'm just asking for the basics. So I hope that FS Reborn, whether they watch this video or not, I hope they get a chance to see it, because maybe they'll see some of the flaws. And I'm sure some people are in the Discord and hitting them out. I'm sure there's some Phenom pilots in the Discord telling them, hey, this is not working, that's not working, this is not working, that's not working. And I just hope that they take heed to it. And I just hope that they take heed to it and they get it sorted out, because this has the ability, as the highest selling light jet in the world for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years in a row. This airplane really has an opportunity to be the creme de la creme of corporate jets. But what I saw this morning from that Citation Sovereign, I'm telling you right now, that is going to be a real game changer. So I would caution you guys, if you're going to buy it, just understand, if you're getting it for just flight planning and all this type of stuff, I would say 2 thumbs up. Go ahead and buy it, because it's worth it. You can flight plan, you can get all of those type of things and stuff like that. But if you are someone like myself, trained on type, or you want to learn this aircraft, it is not a good representation of what the airplane is like. I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. And I have to be real. I just have to be real. And I still scored them pretty decent, because I think a lot of work went into this, but I think it was released before its time for whatever reason. So, once again, guys, like I said, that's my feedback. If you have anything about my feedback that you feel is unmerited or unjustified, please leave it in the comments, and I will definitely read it and I will definitely respond. I do not know everything. for sure. I will say that out boldly, and I cannot even begin to know where to start to make this airplane from scratch. So I give props to all the creators and all the developers who take time out to make these products for the community, because this airplane was in the works from before 2024, I believe, was even out. All right, before Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 was even out, this was in the making. All right, because initially this was coming for 2020, and then when 2024 came out, they switched it to 2024. So this airplane has been in the working for a long time. It has fallen short, um, not by much, but is enough that is like, you know, come on guys, I need y'all to pick it up. So hopefully, you know, hopefully they go ahead and some of the next recent updates bring some more realism, because that's what FSReborn is known for. That's why everyone was anticipating this release, because FSReborn has been one of the trendsetters for private aviation in Microsoft Flight Sim. So with that being said, guys, I'm gonna leave it to you guys. You decide, and leave your comments and feedback in the comment section. And if you like this video, if you like the content, please do like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one.